Hello, this is Jason Webster. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present today. I want to thank Farms.com for having me here at the 2021 sixth annual Great Ontario Yield Tour. The topic of my presentation today is why build a reservoir on your farm. And I guess just to give a little bit of a background about myself, I am a precision planting commercial agronomist. I manage a 400-acre research farm called the Precision Technology Institute. I am the director of that farm. I'm also a certified crop advisor. Again, thanks for having me here today. I look forward to talking to you folks about a really unique project that we have at our farm. So a little background on our farm. We are a 400-acre research farm for precision planting. Precision planting is headquartered in Tremont, Illinois, and our on-farm research center is down the road about 90 miles, located in Pontiac, Illinois. We are right along Interstate 55 and Route 116. We're about 100 miles straight south of Chicago. On this farm, we have a variety of agronomy trials. In 2020, we published over 125 agronomic trials from this particular location. And this is the location where we did build and develop a reservoir, a farm reservoir that we're using for our agronomy trials at the PTI farm. I want to take you to Pontiac, if I will. In the world of COVID, we can't really travel, but we can use Google to do that for us. If we go 100 miles straight south of Chicago, here's Interstate 55, and we are at Pontiac, and this is where our research farm is, and this is where we invite growers from all over the country. We get rid of this COVID thing and we'll be back to all over the world here to our research farm. And we just have a dialogue, have a conversation every single day. And most importantly, we share ideas and we learn. Currently this summer, we are in our 8th week of doing farm tours. We have 500 growers a week attend our farm, and we just simply talk about agronomy, and it's a lot of fun. So the topic at hand, why build a reservoir on your farm? Well, at our farm, it's all about water management. And when we acquired the research farm at PTI, we needed to farm it a little bit to kind of understand the kind of the lay of the ground and what we were dealing with in regards to soil type, texture of the soil, and as well as overall drainage. And so after we farm this period, we've got 3 crop seasons under our belt now. We're growing our 4th here on this farm. We quickly realized we needed to develop a water management study, and this does involve drainage and recycling of rainwater. It's one of the most unique projects I've ever worked on. Just the fact that we can recycle rainwater. It's a situation where we can take variability out of our farms of flooding and drought and really concentrate on, some of the variables that we're trying to test on our research farm. And I guess one thing too, the idea of farm sustainability. How can we keep these farms profitable? How can we keep a farm sustainable for the next generation and the generation after that? And so what we're dealing with on our farm with this water management study is, in fact, a sustainability study. We're trying to increase yield. We're trying to increase net profit per acre. And we're trying to get rid of huge problems in agriculture, such as drought and major flooding. Speaking of major flooding, this was my farm. This was the PTI farm back when we acquired it, and we've got the interstate that cuts us through. That's Interstate 55. Again, that'll lead right into Chicago and to the north, and all the way down to St. Louis, Missouri, to the south. And I think that was a problem with this farm because we couldn't outlet water to the west. They won't let us bore through the interstate to outlet water, and as a result, we just have a ton of saturated soils and large rain events, and we just can't get rid of the water effectively. When I got onto the farm, I mean, there was virtually no field tile at all. And I think we all know how valuable farm tile can be in regard to drainage and creating oxygen in the soil and allowing for timely field operations. So we just didn't have a whole lot of tile on this farm, and we quickly noticed that right away. And then here's some of our trials. We're trying to develop research trials, studying different attributes, and we're not able to do that. This is creating noise in the data sets when we have flooding and taking out part of the replications in our trials. So what we wanted to do was set out and develop an outlet for farm drainage to allow for field tile installation. And again, we just didn't have an outlet for water on this farm. There was people that farmed this farm before me that couldn't put tile in because there's nowhere to take the water. Interstate 55 blocks us to the west side, and we actually farm on the city limits. And so we really can't pump water into a storm sewage system, if you will, to get water away. So as a result, we were wet. We just didn't have tile, and we wanted to develop a plan where we could create our own outlet. So that way we could put tile in and get rid of the water when we were saturated and when we were getting heavy rain events. But then on the second hand, we were wanting to create an opportunity for irrigation during hot, dry summer months. So it was kind of a two-for program. We want to get rid of water when we have too much of it, but I don't want it to leave the farm. I want it to stay in a reservoir so I can reuse it or recycle it. That was our goal planning for this particular PTI farm in regard to water management. This was a really interesting part of our farm. This is what I call the prairie pothole. And this is the lowest elevation of the farm. And so when we would get a rain event, this is where water would stand. And I guess here's the thing. We're trying to grow a crop in this area. We're buying expensive seed. We're buying expensive fertilizer. We're buying herbicides to control weeds. The problem is at harvest time, we don't have a crop here, and water would stand and it would remove the crop. And I looked at this area, this prairie pothole, and I said, this is the most expensive acres on our farm. We're not producing a crop on this area, and we could use this area to improve the rest of the farm. And that is the whole idea behind a reservoir on our farm. This area, what I wanted to do was, I basically said, since we're already holding water here when it rains, I've got water standing, we're not producing any crop on it. So let's use this ground to make the farm better. Let's create an outlet here. Okay, we're just going to make it a little larger to hold more water and give us capacity to do some other things along the way. So we brought excavators, bulldozers, high hose in, and we dug out this prairie pothole. Where the water was standing, we just said, you know what? Let's just make a little more water stand, if you will. And so we cut out the whole area of the prairie pothole, and it turned out being a little less than 2.5 acres in size, and we cut this thing out 25 foot deep. And so here's what it kind of looked like as we were building it. We just kept digging the soil from this prairie pothole, and we separated the soil, the topsoil, the valuable topsoil. We separated so we could use throughout the farm to kind of level some areas. And again, if you dig a farm pond or a reservoir like this, you'll definitely want to separate the good black topsoil on the soil surface versus the tight clay underneath. You'll definitely want to separate that. And we did, and we hauled you can kind of see what time of the year it was. We've got snow on the ground, but the roads were posted, so we just had to kind of stockpile all the topsoil and all the clay, and then we got rid of it at a later date. But that is one issue with building a reservoir. What are you going to do with all the soil and the clay that comes out of it? You're going to have a home for it. You're going to want to get rid of it. And for us, that was it was a task at hand. So when we were done, we ended up with nearly a 2.5 acre reservoir, a farm pond, and we did cut it 25 foot deep. We had some soil borings that were done on the farm close to this. You can see the hotel in the background, the top right of the screen. They had done some soil borings when they built that hotel, and we thought we'd hit shale at 17 feet. We did not. We kept going a little deeper and ended up stopping at 25. just because we could have gone a little deeper, but we stopped there just because we knew we had enough water capacity in this reservoir at that depth. Once we had our outlet or our reservoir created, now we're able to come in and put tile in. We brought our tile machines in and we started putting in laterals across the farm to give us good drainage. Most of this tile was 3-inch black plastic tile, and we put it in about 30 inches deep into the soil. But this was critical for us to put these tile lines in to start getting the proper drainage of our farm, to introduce oxygen into the soil, eliminate compaction, and just really have healthier soils that's really designed to give us higher yield potential and hopefully more farm profitability. I started playing around with different tile patterns. We had some as narrow as 30 foot pattern tile to begin with, and then 60 foot and even 120 foot. So I just kept cutting them in half as we went through 30, 60, 120. And I wanted to document this, I guess, as part of some of the research we were doing at the farm. You know, what is the investment of a 30 foot pattern tile versus a 60 and 120? What's the return on investment? What's the yield potential difference? And we've since come in with a different, you know, we've got tile machines that have come in since this initial phase 1 installation, and the 120 foot pattern tile is actually gone. I've removed it. We've split this down to 30 foot because of the lack of water movement with that 120 feet pattern tile program. And we knew that was going to happen. But again, we just wanted to document it, look at yield over the tile and versus between the tile, and look at the performance of those different tile pattern widths. But all these laterals, whether they're 30, 60s or 120s, they all feed into a main that we have around the farm reservoir that we built. So all of them ultimately are going to drain into the reservoir to fill this pond up. And we have a lift station at this reservoir. So as the main gets water in from the laterals, there's a sump pump in the bottom of the main. And when it gets full, it activates a mercury switch, and we lift the water up from the main and we drop it into the reservoir. We do this for 2 reasons. One, I want to keep water moving in the tile at all times. If I have water in the tile, I want it gone. That way I can keep removing water from the tile system, again, to introduce that oxygen back into the soil. One of the other reasons we're lifting into this reservoir is so I can fill it to full capacity. So we come right over the top, and then I can just keep filling till this thing is completely full. And my job, one of the jobs at this farm, is to make sure that this reservoir is in fact full come June 1st, because we're going to reuse this water. And you think about it, this water is rainwater. Rain fell at the farm, went through the soil profile, hit the laterals that we have in our tile. Tile takes it to our lift station, and we dump this rainwater into this reservoir. So what you're seeing right here on the screen is rainwater. Now, as we looked at our goal planning, we got a check mark next to the, you know, developing an outlet for farm drainage to allow field tile installation. We got that done. We built the reservoir, you know, the hole, the farm pond to take the water. Got that done. Now I want to reuse the rainwater. I want to recycle the rainwater, and that's where we created the opportunity for irrigation during hot, dry summer months. And this reservoir right here, this water that I'm taking out of the soil, the rainwater, it's creating oxygen in the soil and giving me a better opportunity to manage my crops for higher yields. But this water gives me the opportunity to irrigate during the summer if we turn off hot and dry. And I am in a location, I'm in Pontiac, Illinois, where there is no irrigation potential. I don't know of a single farmer near me that has irrigation, because there's no water supply underneath us. There's no aquifer. There's just no potential for water to irrigate our crops. And so now I go from a guy who had no drainage, no irrigation capacity to having both here at the PTI farm. So it's just a tremendous opportunity to take some of the variability out of drought and flooding. And so we're taking water out of the reservoir. We have another lift station that pumps water out of this reservoir. And then we have an irrigation system set up. We're using NET-A-FIM drip tape at the PTI farm. We use this drip tape on 60-inch centers with 24-inch emitters. And basically the drip tape is basically like a super soaker. I can control the drip of the water through this tape. It's very efficient watering to our crop. Again, they're 60-inch centers, so every other row we've got a drip line, and that gives me a drive path on the open rows, to make spray applications, what have you. Works out really nice. All of the drip tape on our farm is surface applied, and that is mainly so when visitors come to our farm, they can see it in operation. Normally, our NET-A-FIM drip tape would want to be buried, be subsurface drip, and we probably want to bury those 14 to 16 inches deep. But at my research farm, I guess I'm too much of a visual person, but as we have people travel and visit us at the farm, I want them to be able to see the drip tape working and in the field, touch it, feel it, experience it, and understand how it's designed and where everything would be buried. So it is all manual. It is very labor intensive, but we do it just for educational purposes. Here's kind of a close up NET-A-FIM tape, and think of it running right down a 30-inch row, corn or soybeans. In our case, we're doing both crops, but it's just a tremendous way to get water to our crop very, very efficiently. And I think somewhat quickly as well, since it is service supplied, we can feed a crop pretty quickly with either water and or fertilizer. This is our lift station where we're taking water out of the pond. Okay, we have our water access in this concrete structure. There's a pipe that goes to the bottom of the pond that feeds this structure. And then in a pump house near the reservoir, we can pump that water for our irrigation. And this is a 10-horse electric motor where typically we're running about 225 gallons a minute with this variable speed pump. And it's just tremendous. I think my power bill is about $400 a month running this thing, and super efficient, super effective. And I can push a lot of water through my irrigation system with this 10-horse electric motor. We do have a series of filters. We need to clean the water because, again, we're going through NET-A-FIM drip tape, and we have emitters, and we don't want to get foreign material in those emitters to plug them. That would shut off our water supply and or fertilizer. So we want to keep it clean. We run the water through these sand filters. We clean the water and we return the dirty water back into the reservoir. We don't waste a single gallon of water. We'll just put it back in the pond and I will re-clean it at a later date. But we do clean the water with these three filters. They're very, very effective, and they do a good job. When pressure drops, it automatically kicks in, cleans these filters out. That way we can keep our pump running again at that high gallon per minute capacity. There's a close-up of the drip line. You can see we've got a plug at the end, and we pressurize this once we turn the water on, and it just simply gives us that super soaker type effect. And you can see the moisture on top of the ground. That one line is going to feed both rows surrounding that drip tape. And it just does a really excellent job of supplying water to our crop. And remember, I'm a guy in Livingston County, Illinois, Pontiac, Illinois, where no one has the ability to irrigate. But here I am, here out in this field, recycling this rainwater to feed our crop. It's just absolutely tremendous. It's just a unique program, and I've really enjoyed using it. It's allowing us to take the stress out of a crop, grow high yields, in some of the highest profitability we've ever seen at the farm level. So again, our pump capacity, we're up to 225 gallon a minute, depending on the size of some of these trials we're trying to water. But basically, I can put on 3 to 4 tenths of rain during daytime hours. We can run 24/7, and we can push some of those totals up. It's not the fastest process in the world, but 3 to 4 tenths per day, that's quite a bit of water. I can manage that. I just have to stay on top of it. The key with it is you don't want to get behind. When we have a hot 90 to 95 degree day, we're going to be burning, ET rates of close to a 1/4 inch. And so I can't gain that much. That's when we typically run 24 hours during the night as well, multiple shifts out here at the PTI farm, checking this irrigation, and we can get a little bit more water on that way. But normally we're running during the daytime. We shut off, we maintenance it in the evening and nighttime, and then we turn back on again in the morning. And when I do that, I'm about 3 to 4 tenths of rain per day. But I can put more on if we run second shift and moving more water. I do have the ability to fertigate. This is one of the third benefits. So I'm getting drainage, I'm getting irrigation, but I also can get fertigation out of this program as well. This project has been tremendous. I mean, all of the opportunities we're getting, it's just been awesome. And the agronomics we're learning as a result of this has been tremendous. So we do have some electronics in the pump house where we can put in a program to feed individual trials. So we can soil test, we can tissue test, and find out kind of what does the crop need today, and I can go feed it through our irrigation system. We have a separate electric motor that is a fertigation station in the pump house, and here's where I can tie in mini bulk tanks to this, and we can supply fertilizers such as nitrogen, sulfur, boron, potassium, products like that. We can just kind of spoon feed with the water as we're irrigating the crop. Sometimes we could go in with almost just a straight fertilizer mix as well, in cases where we've had high rainfall events where we really don't need water, but we need fertilizer. This system allows me to put fertilizer out to feed this crop in those high saturated soil environments. But we've got 2 ports here. We can put 2 products in at once if we need to, or we can just do one custom blend mix or one single product. I bring bulk tanks up to the pump house. Here you can see 2 large 3,000 gallon tanks. These were full when we started the growing season, and we've used that particular product in some of our trials, and you'll see some smaller white tanks. These are starter fertilizer tanks that we bring in and we mix up. We make a special recipe for every single trial based on what it needs, and then we can pump that out through the irrigation as the crop is growing. Here's just kind of another picture of the pump house. You can see those filters inside that pump house too. And I just put my tanks outside, and I've got a line that goes directly to my fertigation motor, and I can pump that product out. This is all regulated. This is all, I've got the meters in here where I can know exactly what the rate per acre is of the fertilizer versus the water, and works out really well. We've got a second pond. This is actually on the other side of the farm. This was a farm pond that was already established when we moved on to the farm. And so this is kind of what gave us the idea of building the farm reservoir. Could we in fact take water out of this pond and go, take it through drip irrigation? And we did that the first year very, very successfully. And so we wanted to add another reservoir to the farm. This particular pond is being fed with rainwater off of a parking lot structure. So it's all concrete. Doesn't have to go through the soil to the tile to the reservoir. It's directly off the concrete parking lot from this building. But either way, both these ponds have been great ways for us to, again, take crop stress out and really grow some exceptional yields. So I guess that brings us back to the next topic. Once we've got a reservoir and once we've got the opportunity to hold rainwater and reuse it to irrigate, will this allow for higher crop yields? And I guess as an agronomist and ag researcher, one of my jobs at the PTI farm is to evaluate return on investment. And each year I provide a top 10 return on investment winners from our farm. And when you look at the #1 guy that is bringing in the highest return on investment, it is some of my high yield irrigated corn trials. And look at the the return on investment of over $200 an acre. It's just been tremendous. This farm reservoir being able to offer farm drainage and irrigation and fertigation is just taking us to a whole new level. And so I'm going to share with you one of our high yield attempts at the PTI farm where we're using this reservoir, the drainage, the irrigation and fertigation. It's in a strip till environment. It is a corn soybean rotation. Last year, we were able to grow 368.2 bushel corn, just tremendous yields. This is personally is my 34th year of farming, and I've never had yields like this. This is the highest yield I've ever been able to grow. But I kind of tell folks I'm kind of cheating here a little bit. I mean, I do have access to the drainage of the tile, and then I've got the irrigation and the fertigation. So we should be able to grow high yields with that type of system in place. But 368.2 is the highest yield I've ever been able to record, and we're just going to try to get better here as we go through each growing season. You look at that 368.2. I mean, we didn't do it with just drainage and irrigation and fertigation. We've got some planter treatments. I always tell folks we've got to spoon feed this crop, and obviously this is corn, but we don't put all of our fertilizer up front. I know I've got the ability to come in with more nutrition on the planter, and I know I've got the ability to come in through the growing season with our drip tape to continue feeding this crop. So there's no such thing as putting one fertilizer application on this crop and saying, this is what you're going to use for the whole growing season. We don't do that. We spoon feed, we reallocate nutrients, and it just works excellent. But that's what it took to get this 368.2 this past year. Some of the gains that we're looking at, we start off with strip till. We've got fertilizer in those strips, but then we come in with the planter, and the planter nutrition has given us nearly 32 bushel yield increases. And you see, if we can set this crop up with the right nutrition, we can give it water at the right time and keep it healthy, keep it happy, we can just excel with corn yield and picking up some really nice yields. Here's kind of the recipe that I put together for the 368.2. I tell everybody there's a right way, a wrong way, and then there's the Jason Webster way. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but it's what we did. And I think that's important. We do share with everybody what we did to get these yields. These show, I guess, everything on this slide. It shows everything that what we did except for the fall strip till, where we're putting dry fertilizer in our strips to start the banding of fertilizer. And then we come in with this program. It's got planter treatments, first foliar at 275 GDUs, a side dress, and then we start with our foliars and our fertigations to get us through the growing season. But ladies and gentlemen, with this program, we were able to pick up yield gains of over 105.2 bushel yield gains by having this reservoir in place and setting up nutrition and setting up healthy corn for high yield. And I guess there's a lot of high yield guys out there. And one of the big questions is, okay, you're growing high yield corn, but are you making any money doing it? And with everything that we're doing here versus the control did get some of these programs. Some of these are a normal control, but the ones that were over and above the control, I still had gains of over $200 an acre from this. Of course, it was high yield, 368.2 bushel. That'll help pay a lot of bills, but the point is that we're still making money, and I think that's what makes this thing very, very sustainable. Okay, we're making higher profits than what we're used to with just what I call a status quo program that we've been used to for decades. Okay, look at the plant health of the corn on the right. The corn on the right is our high management trial where we're keeping it healthy, spoon feeding it along. Yes, using that field tile for drainage to provide oxygen in the soil, that healthy soil. But then we come right back in and we can irrigate with water. We can fertigate. If I need nitrogen, sulfur, boron, potassium, I can put it on through our drip. I can do foliar applications to keep disease out. And all of a sudden we've got a package here that's just creating some excellent high yielding corn. Now the corn on the left, I think it's important to look at that as well. That's what we call our status quo Livingston County corn. Again, Livingston County, Illinois, that's where we're at here in Pontiac. And all the corn in this area cannot be irrigated. I mentioned that earlier, but this corn simply died and dried. And I think it's interesting to note that the pictures you're looking at on the screen, this is the day of harvest. Yes, this is the day of harvest. That green corn you're seeing at the right, that is the day of harvest versus the picture on the left, which is our status quo corn, where the corn simply died and dried. It did not have irrigation. Okay, yes, it ran out of gas. I couldn't put water on it, but look at what happens when we can provide an environment to feed this corn. Tremendous things can happen. Everybody always asks me, well, gosh, what was the moisture of that corn when you harvested that? It's so green. The corn on the right was 24% when we actually harvested this. And I had farmers when we were out harvesting this. It was some of the first that we did. And some of the farmers would stop by, our neighbors would stop by and say, gosh, that corn has to be tremendously wet. I mean, as green as it is. And this corn was 24% when we harvested. And people ask, how in the world was it that dry? And I simply look at them. I'll look at them straight in the eye and I'll say, because we didn't kill it. We didn't kill the corn. We're spoon feeding. We're keeping it alive. I mean, I guess one of the best analogies I can make is, us as human beings, we wake up in the morning, we eat breakfast. And what if that was the only meal we could have during the day? We get done with breakfast, our stomach's full, right? But then we work all morning. We get to lunch. We're working hard, right? We get to lunch and we're hungry, but no, you can't eat lunch. There's no food available. Keep working hard. It gets to dinner time at night. You're hungry again. You're tired. You're worn out. Can you eat? No, you can't do it. You can't eat breakfast until tomorrow morning. But if we only eat one time a day, the sustainability of keeping us alive, keeping us efficient, keeping us working hard. I don't know how I could manage that only eating one time a day. But with our program that we have on the corn, it's like we're giving it 3 square meals a day. Yes, some of it's water. Yes, some of it's food, but it's keeping it content, keeping it happy, and we just don't let the corn die. That's what's helping us, I think, achieve some of these higher yields. Look at the kernel size. I mean, with this type of program, now all of a sudden we're trying to figure out how can we increase test weight in corn. Number 2 yellow dent corn is graded at 56 pounds per bushel, but gosh, this is 65-pound corn here, and I'd love to even figure out how to get even heavier corn, because again, that's going to help just push yield even higher, pushing all that energy into these kernels, trying to get ultimate high yield. Soybeans actually show up number 2 on our top 10 return on investment. In 2020, we're bringing in almost $160 of additional revenue in on 20-inch row soybeans. And I'll just say this with soybeans, irrigation is absolutely tremendous. Every year I've had irrigation on soybeans, we've had 20 bushel yield gains. This, you can look at the screen here. In 2020, we showed 19.9. I guess I'll call that 20 bushel, but just tremendous. Here on the far left of the graph, you can see almost 25 and a half bushel yield gains. We've had tremendous success irrigating soybeans. Part of it could be the fertigation as well, but boy, when we can pour the water when it's not raining outside to these soybeans, especially late season, we can push some tremendous yield. So these were beans. The far left column there, they went 101.3 bushel in really an environment that should have never gone there. I mean, you can see our control on the right, 75.7 bushel beans. The water, the irrigation has absolutely been tremendous. I like the fact with our drip tape, we're almost changing the architecture of some of the root systems of these soybeans. Sometimes with our drip, I'll be a little aggressive and we'll push the pressure high and we'll get blowouts, and we have to go repair the blowout in the drip. And one day we were out changing the drip, mending it, and whenever you get a blowout, you get high amounts of water causing erosion on the soil surface. And one day we were changing this drip tape and mending it out, and we looked down and we could see the root system of the soybean plant. And for you folks who grow soybeans, you know that soybeans have a taproot structure. Okay, the architecture is the taproot that wants to go straight down. You look at the root system on the screen right here surrounding that drip tape. That is not a taproot. That's a fibrous root system, and ladies and gentlemen, I think with this system, we're changing the architecture of the root system of a soybean plant. The soybean plant knows where the water is, it knows where the food is, and it'll grow right to it. And again, that's why I think we've had some of these really nice 20 bushel yield gains in soybeans, is because we can go right to it and feed it very, very quickly and very, very effectively. Number 4 on our list, and just a hair over $90 an acre, is 30-inch row beans. The last beans I showed you were 20-inch. I always get the question of, can we grow high yield in 30-inch row beans? And we certainly can. Here's some 30-inch row bean yield results where we're up to 95.6 bushel to the acre. We didn't hit the 100 bushel plateau, but we were awful darn close at 95.6. Here's the regimen or the recipe we're putting together for these high yield beans. And again, this is just what we did. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. We're open and honest with folks. We tell them what we're applying, where we're applying it, the timing of it. You know, here would include the planter nutrition treatments, as well as foliars at the appropriate timing, all the way through the season. So I will say some of our conceal, the top right of the screen there, there's quite a regiment there of dual band placement on both sides of the soybean row. That has been very, very critical in bringing water in. And that tandem right there has been a pretty big yield contributor for us on our PTI farm. Everybody asked me, well, this year, do you think you'll be able to break the 368.2 bushel yield record? I don't know. I thought we were setting ourselves up pretty good. I thought the corn looked healthy. This corn is actually a picture of it that we took on Tuesday morning. We've done a good job with plant health. You can see these white tags. Every time we make an application, I put it out there so guys can see what we did. We've made quite a few applications. We have put some water on. We've got an intensive tile program out here to keep this particular plot drained. The one thing I'm worried about this year is some of the sunlight or the lack thereof. At pollination time, I thought we were real cloudy. It did bring us some rains, which were beneficial. We had an excellent pollination, but I just, for test weight, I'm still not convinced that we had enough sunlight. And I guess the thing that was kind of the thing that was the worst situation with sunlight was all of the smoke from the wildfires out in Oregon and in the western United States. The jet stream kind of buckled and brought that smoke or that haze in. And even though we didn't have cloud cover, we had that smoke, and this every day seemed super cloudy. And I just wonder if that's going to kind of wreak havoc with some test weight. I could be totally wrong, but it's one of the things we're watching. And last year we had 65-pound corn, like I mentioned. This year we want that same thing, because that can be 80 to 100 bushel yield swings right there with just test weight. So that makes a big difference. Most of our ears that we're looking at were 16 round by about 40 long. And yeah, I'm questioning myself, where are the 18s? Where are the 20s? I do think ear girth is probably one thing that's going to limit us too. But I'll say this, last year, the 368.2, we were 16 round by 38 long. Here we're just a little longer this year due to the great pollination period we had. But hopefully those 16 rounds will be some large kernels and they'll weigh like lead. And we can at least hit that same level or possibly a little higher for this year. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this presentation about building a farm reservoir. I do want to give my information on it if there's any questions down the road. I always give my email address. It's jason.webster@precisionplanting.com. If you're on Twitter, you can contact me at jwebsterag, and then my telephone number is 815-584-6511. I'll put a plug in for another way to get data from us, including more results from this farm reservoir, is you can go to insidepti.com. You can sign up for free videos that we put together, free agronomic videos. We put right now we're putting out 2 per week. These are completely free. You go to insidepti.com, put in your first name and your email address so we know who to send it to, and we'd love to send you these videos. If you decide you don't like it, you can unsubscribe, no problem. Won't hurt my feelings at all. But we do try to publish all the results from our farm in this video capacity. So they're kind of a look into some of our PTI trials. And again, they're weekly PTI videos emailed directly to your inbox. And this is what it looks like when you go to Inside PTI. Again, just put your first name and your email address in, and we'd love to send you more information if you so desire. So again, thank you once again for having me. Appreciate Farms.com for bringing me in for the yield tour this year and talking about this farm reservoir program. But it's been one of the most unique programs I've ever been able to work with. And boy, talk about taking the crop stress out during the growing season and learning about agronomy, learning how to feed these plants without the stresses that are in the field has been a tremendous learning experience, and it's helped our farm. We've taken a farm that was a poor farm. Okay, yes, it was good dirt, but it was just terrible drainage, and we fixed that. We've eliminated that problem of the farm, but then we picked up two other advantages with the irrigation and the fertigation. I guess one thing I'll close on is everybody always says, well, what it costs to put this thing in. Right now, with the yield increases we're getting from this particular project, we're on track to pay for this whole system in 10 years. And I guess that is interesting. And we are looking at ways to look and see if we could get some programs available to help farmers put this program together, because I do think environmentally this is a friendly program. This is a green program, because we're sending less water into our river systems. We're keeping the rainwater. I'm not letting it go. When my pond is full, I have an outlet and I can remove water, and it'll dump directly into the Vermilion River that's 1.5 miles down the road from us. That water goes to the Illinois River. That water goes to the Mississippi River. That water goes to the Gulf of Mexico. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sending water into the river system because I'm keeping it on my farm and I'm reusing it. I'm going to put it back out into the soil. I'm going to use it to irrigate and feed the crop. And to me, that's tremendous. We're not putting more water into the river systems, and we're keeping it out. The other thing we're doing too, I'll mention, is we're testing the water every 30 days. And you guys always ask me, you say, well, you're using a lot of fertilizer over there at the research farm to get some of these high yields. Are you getting any nutrients in the groundwater? And ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you, I test that water every 30 days and I'm not finding things like nitrates. I'm not finding things like phosphates. I have clean water. Matter of fact, when the lift station is working, is pumping water from the tile into the reservoir, I'll drink that water. It is the cleanest water in the world. That it is clean water. There's no nutrients. We're not putting nutrients in the groundwater. And I think people need to know that. Farmers get accused of putting nutrients into the groundwater on a daily basis. And I can tell you on this farm, we're not doing that. We have clean water in this reservoir. One thing I might add too, if let's just say that I am picking up nutrients in the water, okay, I'm not trying to do that. And right now I'm not seeing that. But what if I was getting nutrients, I'm picking up nutrients in the groundwater? I'm going to turn around and recycle it too. I'm going to put it out in the field so the crop can use it. So again, this is a filtering system potentially for us. In the event that we do get nutrients in the water, we can filter it. We're going to recycle it right back into the crop. And again, that's why I say this is just a tremendous environmental program that also brings the advantages of all the agronomics. And so this is a great program, and I'm sure glad we did this, and I'm sure glad that we were able to share the information with you folks today. We'll go ahead and take a few questions. I know that we're on Zoom here. We'll try to. We have Sean Livingston from Precision Planting. I think he can help answer some of the questions too. But again, I'll stick around here and try to answer any questions that may come up. But in the meantime, thank you guys again for having me. I've really appreciated sharing this information. Thanks.